Hi class. In this video I'm going to talk about groups in Active Directory. I'm going to break it up into two videos. I'm going to use DFS, there's one there and there's one there, to demonstrate what we talk about. So before I actually get into talking about groups, I'm going to set up the two DFS servers. So I have all my machines booted up, everything I've worked on so far. You might need to reboot everything and give it a few minutes to replicate to avoid any problems. But right now I'm signed into DFS 1 and DFS 2. So I'm going to work on DFS 1 first. So the first video is going to be setting up the DFS servers. The second video will be playing around with the groups for those for the permissions I'm going to assign to the DFS servers. So first thing I'm going to do is assign the IP addresses. Join them to the domain, install DFS, configure DFS, and that's where this video will end. The next video, I'll be creating groups in all of our domains because I need to be able to access this DFS server in the child domain and the tree domain even though this resource is only in the Contoso domain. So I need to be able to give everyone access to this resource in the parent domain to users in the parent domain, in the child domain, and the tree domain. And you're going to do that with proper group nesting. So that will be the topic of the second video. So for this video, I'm going to assign the IPs, set up the DFS servers. The IP for DFS 1 is 0.6 with the /21. So /21 is 255.255.248.0. I'm going to point to our gateway right here to get out of the network. And I'm going to use DC2 and DC3 as a DNS server for DFS 1. Click OK. OK. Yes for the flyout. Now I'm going to rename it and join it to the domain. The reason why I'm doing it in two separate videos is because I want the changes that I've made on the east site to be replicated to the west site and vice versa. If I did it all in one video, it's probably not going to give it enough time to replicate. So what I'm going to do is do this, leave it set for a while, make sure everything's replicated, and then do the next lab. And even in that lab, I'm going to have to wait a few minutes for it to replicate, because I'm going to be creating groups of multiple domains, and that's going to take some time. So while that's rebooting, I'm going to go to DFS 2. So the IP for that is going to be 172.16.8.4/21. One DFS will be on the west site, one DFS will be on the east site. All the users in this site will go to that DFS server automatically, and all the users on this site will go to that DFS server automatically. If this DFS server goes down, all the users will then connect to the other one via the WAN link, or vice versa. DFS is a service that is site aware, meaning that when a client tries to connect to the DFS server, it'll connect them to a local DFS route and a local DFS share server. So the IP is 172.16.8.4/21. The gateway for the east site is 8.1, and the two DNS servers on the east site is 8.2, 8.3. So I'm pointing these to two DNS servers in the domain that it will be part of. DFS1 and DFS2 will be part of the Contoso domain. So for this DFS, I'm going to point to these two DNS servers, and this will be the gateway. For this DFS, I'm going to point to these two DFS servers, these two DNS servers, and this is the gateway. When this adds records for itself over here, they'll get replicated to over here and vice versa. Now I'm going to join it to the domain. Every time I connect to a new network, it's going to ask me what to do with the firewall. I click yes to relax the firewall. So the name of this will be DFS2, Contoso.com. I forgot the O. I'm going to pause the video while this is thinking about what, oh, there it is. So now I'm going to go back to DFS1. Again, going to sign in as the domain admin, not the local admin. I'm going to do the same thing for DFS2. Again, I'm going to sign in as a domain admin. I'll give it a minute and going to give it a minute to sign in, and I'm going to pause the video. Okay, I've rebooted. So I'm going to manage, add servers. I'm going to add DFS2 to the console on DFS1, so I can manage both DFS1 and DFS2 from this one console. I don't want to have to keep jumping back between virtual machines. Listen, if you type DFS2 here and say find now, and it doesn't find it, press cancel, wait a little bit and come back. You have to wait till that information that when you join this to the domain, it got added to these DCs. We got to wait till that information gets replicated over to these DCs. So it might be a little bit of a time. So I gave it like 2 minutes and it was fine for me. So I'm back on DFS1. I'm going to highlight DFS2, move it to the right and click OK. The other thing I always like to do is create a server group called DFS servers. I'm going to add that here. DFS2. I'm going to go to Active Directory and find DFS. This is kind of unusual. Sorry, I'm on DFS2. That was a mistake. I'm going to go to DFS1. I want to manage everything from DFS2. Excuse me, I want to manage everything from DFS1. So I'm going to hit Manage, Add Servers, type DFS2. Okay. So guys, I didn't give it enough time. DC1 and 2 don't know about DFS2 yet. So I have to wait till it replicates. So I'm just going to pause the video and come back to this. This is one of those things you don't want to rush. Yeah, I don't know about DFS2. So I'm just going to pause the video and leave it set. Okay, class. I've given it a lot of time. It still wasn't synchronizing. So if you can run this command on all of your DCs, I did a reboot, it still wasn't synchronizing. I ran all these commands because my time was off on every DC. Even if it gives you an error, don't worry about it because it will eventually go through. This way, it forces all your servers to talk to your PDC and synchronize their time. I'm still having issues, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this video right now and give it more time to synchronize before I can go on. Right now, when I try to do anything, like I'm in Active Directory users and computers, if I try to replicate anything, I'm getting this error saying it's denied. Sorry, wrong one. See, I'm getting denied. So we shouldn't be getting that. The only thing is it's a replication problem. So I'm going to leave these DCs alone, let them sit for a little bit, see if they work out this issue. And then I'll come back and record some more. So I'm going to break it up into 3 videos now. So for now, I'm going to stop this video and I will see you in the next video. Just let it sit. Don't mess with anything. Don't start deleting things and adding things. The most things that I would do is if you highlight NTDS settings on any server and go to all tasks, you can check the replication topology. And it's going to take a while for it to happen. And once it's done, you can try to refresh. Then go back in and force replication again. It's still not working for me, so I'm just waiting for replication to occur. Okay? So I'm going to stop the video and I will talk to you in the next video. Okay, class, I'm still having problems synchronizing my domain controllers up. So what I did was, you can see that all my DCs are running. They're synchronized now. You notice that all the times are correct and they match the real time. Here's how I did it. I created this script. The top is a servers equals @ round bracket, and then all my server names, all my domain controllers in quotes separated by a comma, then an end round bracket. And here's the guts of the script. For each server in servers, because that says servers up there, it'll loop through all the servers. Basically, write the server name. It's going to synchronize the time against a time server out on the internet, then restart each server, and then wait 2 minutes before moving on to the next server. So it takes a while to run. Each server is going to be 2 minutes to boot. I'm on DC4, and that's the last server that it's going to reboot. If you run this on DC1, and that's DC1 is the first item on the list, it's going to stop the script. So I want to make sure that the script runs DC4 last before rebooting DC4. So you just press play. And again, I'm doing this as PowerShell administrator. And it's going to loop through all the DCs and reboot them. I put this in my documents folder called Reboot Domain Controllers. From this point on, I'm just going to boot up the machines and then do this to synchronize all the times and to force each machine to restart. It's going to take a few minutes to reboot all of them, so I'm not going to record the entire process, but this should reboot all of your machines, synchronize them as far as the time, so replication will work no problem. So I'm going to put this at the beginning of another video that I already recorded because I was having so much problems finding DFS2 on the west site. I also wasn't able to replicate, but I can see now that both sites know about both DFS servers. Later in the lab where I stopped the video, it's because they both weren't showing up. I had all my times wrong. Each machine at a different time. I don't know why. It's an ACE IT problem. And so it wasn't synchronizing between sites or even between servers within a site. Doing this allowed me to get everything synchronized. So again, guys, I don't have Chrome on this server, and all I have is Internet Explorer, and Internet Explorer can't connect to D2L. The site blocks Internet Explorer. So you have to type it out manually. Typos will kill you guys. I can't explain that. But you're going to create an array of all your servers. You're going to loop through each of those servers, synchronize the time, then reboot the machine. Wait 120 seconds and do it to the next server. So I'm going to stop this video now. Okay, class, now I'm ready to continue with the lab. I wrote a script that will reboot and synchronize all the times for all your DCs. So I'm going to sign into DFS1. I'll go to Manage, Add Server. I'm going to add DFS2. Then I'm going to create a server group. DFS servers, and add both machines. Now that will create a DFS servers on the left, so I can see all the issues with the DFS servers. And you can see that I've been having time issues. I believe that's ACIT thing. So now that I have that done, I'm going to install DFS on DFS1. And again, the only reason why I'm using DFS is to demonstrate the group nesting. This is going to be a namespace server and a file server. So I'm installing both DFS namespace and DFS replication. I'm going to pause the video while it's installing. Okay, it's done installing, so now I'm going to do it to DFS2. Because I've added the server to this, I don't need to go to DFS2, I can do it right from here. Now I'm going to choose DFS2. And install both namespace and replication. Restart if necessary. Again, I'm going to pause it. Okay, it's installed, so now I'm going to go to DFS management. Actually, before I do, I'm going to reboot both DFS servers. So I rebooted DFS2 and DFS1. So I'm back on DFS1. I'm signing in. Now I'm going to launch DFS. I'm going to jump over to DFS2 to make sure it's rebooted. It is. Now I'm going back to DFS1. So I'm going to create a new namespace, point to DFS1 as my first server. I'm going to call my namespace public. Guys, I just walked through this wizard once and got an error, and I rebooted. So that's why I got that message. You're not going to get that message. So now I have my new namespace, but I only have one name server. So I'm going to add a second name server. dfs2.contoso.com. Click OK. Okay, so now I have a namespace with two name servers. These two name servers are going to host my links. So I'm going back to namespace. Now I'm going to create a new folder. And I'm just going to call this net share. And I'm going to have DFS1 and DFS2 both host a copy of this shared folder. So I'm going to click add. These are going to be my targets. So when someone clicks on that link, it'll take them to this server first. DFS1.contoso. Actually, I don't really need to. Yeah, I'm going to do the contoso.com. Net share. Server name, share name. Doesn't exist. We're going to create it now. So it's going to be shares net share. I'm going to give everyone full control for share permissions. That turns off share permissions. We did this lab in the last class. Now I'm going to add a second target. So if someone clicks on a link, this will be a second machine that handles that share, that hosts that share. Does it exist on DFS2? So I'm going to create it. The local path will be shares net share. Again, turning off share permissions. Yes, I'm going to create the folder. So when they go to that namespace and they click on the net share link, it will take them to one of these two servers. As soon as I click OK, it's going to set up replication between those two shares. And I'm pretty much just going to walk through the wizard. I've explained this in the last class. Both shares are empty, so I don't need an initial primary replication partner. You would choose the share that has data on it. Right now, they're both blank. Okay, so now our namespace is set up. Contoso.com public. So when I click on this, it'll take me to one of two shares. Now, I need to give it a little bit of time because a lot of that information is stored in Active Directory. So I need to make sure that gets replicated over to the site. So I'm going to wait a little bit before I do the next video. Probably do it tomorrow. But in the next video, we're going to set up some groups to do some group nesting, because what we need to do now is set up the permissions for this and this. We need to make sure that users from all three domains can access the share that's in the parent domain. And we're going to do that with proper group nesting. You need to understand the difference between universal groups, global groups, and domain local groups. When to use what. If we only have one domain, you're fine using just global groups. But now that we have multiple domains and we're using resources from one domain need to be accessed in other domains, we need to know how to properly use group nesting. We're going to be dealing in a native mode, meaning that all of our DCs are 2000 server or later. We don't have any old NT4 domain controllers. That's called mixed mode. What we're doing is native mode, meaning no NT4 domain controllers. So guys, when I talk about that, I'll go over what's here on my screen. Okay, that's it for this video. I actually created 3 videos. The first one where I joined the computers to the domain, set up all the IP addresses. The second video, I created the script to synchronize the time and reboot all the DCs. And the third video is what I'm doing right now. So I'm going to join those together to be one video, and then upload that to YouTube. And then probably tomorrow I will create another video to set up all the groups. Okay, thank you, and I will see you in the next video.